Alright, g'day there, Richard MUSGRAVE-EVANS here again, and welcome back. Now, today, got the Plein Air trailer, getting it out, getting it ready, going on a fantastic outback trip in the next couple of days. So I'm just preparing everything, getting all my gear together, the palette knives and all the paint, and priming a few boards and canvases and whatever else. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so not a bad setup. I've got the old trailer set up really well for all these trips, so I'll give you a bit of tour around while I'm getting it all ready, so you can just see how it all works together, how you can get all those wet paintings when you're painting on plein air. Have a whole bunch of wet paintings on rough corrugated dusty roads, still have them fully protected while they're drying, because they could take a week to be touch dry. So perfect setup. All right, so we've got the old gas struts here. Okay, now, here we go. Let's have a look inside, shall we? Just bring the camera in a bit. Alright, can you see what I'm doing? I'm just gonna... This part here is not the... We'll just get this out. Just undo these quickly. Right. Okay, so if we have a look inside here, what we've got now, currently I've got a whole lot of paintings in here. Now the bonus of this is, the way I've got it worked on slats, is you can either have tiny little paintings like so. Got to get all these paintings out. I've been storing them here, letting them dry while I've been not on a trip. Or you can have absolutely massive paintings, and they're all on those slats, so they slide in and out. And it's just the best way to go. Just put that back in. Just going to get a little bit of gear out of here. I've got all the swags and everything else. That's my hose for filling out my water tank, because this trailer is ready for the outback, set up for the outback. So you've got your water storage, 80 litres of water tank underneath, and then the side pump on the side for getting the water out. Take an extra hose just in case I've got to fill up somewhere. There's my bedroll, the good old fashioned swag. Fantastic stuff. Now inside I've got some other boxes. Let's just have a look at it. We'll go in and have a look. Inside, there's all sorts of stuff. 240 volt inverter, we've got the 12 volt system all up there, tucked out of the way. We've got another small painting box here that I attached to my canoe. That's when I'm doing the river painting series. All your clamps, your raincoats, LED lights, clamps everywhere, and the big box itself. Down here I store tons of paint. Down here all the cooking gear, billies and stuff are in those bags. Let's get a bit of a roll up here, where we go. Alright, so military style, everything's strong, basic. I designed it that way so I can handle the roughness of the outback without, too much things going bung on it. It's worked out pretty well now. I've had a few years going. Well, if you watched the videos, you would have seen that. And I'll give you a quick tour. It's got the solar panels for all the electrical stuff for the charging of the cameras and laptops, whatever you need. It's got plenty of water, like I was saying earlier. Let's just have a tour. Fold out table, kitchen tables, it's all good stuff. Let's have a look around. This table works out really well when you pull up after a long hard drive. Feel like a bit of lunch or something, just flick a couple of whatevers. There she comes, that's fantastic, plenty of room. Put your gas stove on there if you like, whatever you need. But it's just great for quick stops or major camp setups, just whatever you need at the time. I just love pulling up, quickly throwing a bit of lunch together, and then bang, off you go again. So it's as easy as that. Like I was saying, it's designed to handle the blows. There's nothing shakes over the bumps. It's all drum tight, and you can rattle away on the outback roads, corrugations, and it's all good. So yeah, no worries. Your awning, so if you've got a bit of rain or a bit too much sun, whatever, fully protected, that just rolls out. That's opening within about a minute. Bang, she's out. Quickly put away again. So everything's designed for quick and easy, simple. When you're out there thinking about painting, the last thing you want to be doing is spending half the day just setting up camp and doing whatever else. So I find if you can keep it as simple as possible but still very practical, it's the way to go. So there you go. And like I was saying earlier, if you can't be bothered doing any of that sort of stuff, you've got this. As soon as you pull up, you immediately open that up like a gas strut. You've immediately got shelter from the rain without anything at all. A bit tired, you just sit down here, have a bite to eat and whatever else. Very good setup. And I put a lot of thought into all this before I actually built it, a lot of designing, but it's really all come together. It really works well. And also if you've got paintings that you're bringing out of the thing for an exhibition or something, say, to a gallery, you can slide them in and out here, not worrying about what the weather's doing. As soon as you've got them out, you can race them across the gallery without getting a drop of rain on or whatever. So basically it all works well, and it is all dust tight too, which is fantastic. The boxes in there that I've built to put the paintings in, they're dust tight themselves, but as it turns out, I've designed this well enough as well, so this is keeping the dust out. So it gets very dusty on those roads in the outback, so it's really working out well for painting big wet oils. That's the thing about the way, that's my style of painting. I paint large oils on site, so you've got these big wet things that who knows what you can do with them. I mean, you can get all sorts of mess out there with that. So being able to store them all like that, slide them all away, and have them travel safely is a real bonus. But also then the fact that painting such a big painting on site is also a real challenge. So how do you go about that? Well, that's what I've got on the other side of the trailer. Got the easel that can either fold out sideways or you can just paint straight with it on the side, and that enables you to be completely out of the wind. If it's a huge amount of wind, you can use the trailer itself, get in layer the wind on the other side of it, have your easel on that side and paint, and so the trailer is just blocking the wind. So I've painted in gale force winds, really big plein air paintings, and put the painting away in there. Best stuff. Let's go have a look at that easel. We'll just come around. Alright, let's have a look. What do we got? Yeah, you can see what's going on there. There we go. Right, now that's the easel, and as you know, you've probably seen me paint from the side before. But also, as simple as you like, I just pull out a few of these things. There's just a few clamps to hold it all together. Take this one out, that one out. Took a bit of thought for this one too. This all just comes out in a minute if I get it right. Put a lot of thought into all this. Let's move that one. Now all you've got to do is, again I've probably over-engineered all the clamps, but that's fine too, because the last thing you want to do is have a rattly car or a rattly trailer as you're going down those roads, because it's corrugated enough as it is. Anyway, so it's like that. Now she just folds out, and as it folds out, gets to the 90 degrees, and then you just bung this in here, like so. And you've got yourself a really good setup. Where are we? You've got yourself, as you can see, it's rock solid. So you just clamp the paintings. I use those slats on the back of the painting. It's designed the same height as the easel, so you can just put clamps the painting on, and simple as that. So you can have the view here or whatever and paint away, big painting, fantastic. Or like I said, if you want to get closer to the trailer itself to get out of the wind or whatever, you can just leave it shut and paint from there. So yeah, a lot of thought, like I said, has gone into it, but this thing, this would have to be one of the major things. It's fantastic having such a strong easel and large solid easel outdoors. Because one of the negatives of painting outdoors, or probably the only negative, painting outdoors is fantastic for capturing the right colours and the right tones and everything, the essence of the landscape, because it's there right in front of you. Quite often you have to paint a little painting just because of the weather and the inconvenience and the wind and whatever. Having like a mobile studio trailer like this, a plein air trailer, means you're basically taking a studio outside. It allows you to paint all that magical stuff, large scale, right in front of the subject. So there's no guesswork, it's all there. And not only that, I find that when you're painting on site, you tend not to be so literal about one particular angle. Even though, just say for example, I'm painting this way, I can also see stuff off to the side and I can see stuff behind me, and the whole time everything's around me. So I'm absorbing all the other stuff visually that's around me, not just what I'm seeing in front. So you tend not to be too literal and photographing in one spot. You're picking up all the energy of the landscape. Fantastic stuff. Alright, so up on the roof, solar panels. We've got a solar panel up here, and I've got one angling down on the front as a spoiler. It was a bit of a windbreak at the same time. Not only that, you can capture the sun if it's coming from the front angle and a lower angle, or you can get the higher sun. So either way, that works well as a wind spoiler and a solar panel. Top of the car has got similar setup. It's got a solar panel for the fridge and whatever else in the car itself. Recovery gear on the roof, so it's all good. All set up, very sturdy, solid roof. Everything's rugged out, so she's ready to go. Alright, so there's your solar panels on the front that we're talking about, the ones that act like a spoiler. Great angle for wind deflection. Plenty of room for spare fuel or extra water on top here. You run around the side and you've got taps for the water, pumping the water out. Gas bottles down the back. So she's all good to go. Let's just see if we can see underneath. There we go, so underneath, got the big water storage. Not only that, if we get in a little bit closer, let's just see if we can get in here. You'll see that I've added shock absorbers. Those shock absorbers didn't come with the trailer itself. Most trailers would just lease springs like this, you don't get the shock absorbers. But those shock absorbers have really steadied the ride, so it's just like riding on a porcelain road for this trailer. The paintings, nothing gets damaged on the rugged corrugated roads of the Outback. It's all smooth riding, great stuff. Alright, well, going to prime this big canvas. I've already got some gesso on it. It's all sealed that way. But what I want to do is, because I'm taking this into the Outback, I normally quite often like to paint on a raw linen, like an earthy tone. But what I'm going to do with this one, I've got the white undercoat, but now I'm going to put just a thin wash of oil paint. This is an acrylic base primer. A thin wash of oil paint over this to colour the surface. Kind of the colour of the Outback to start with, so it'll be some rich earthy tone. A nice kind of terracotta colour. And that'll mean basically you're halfway there. When you're painting the Outback, you've got a lot of similar undertones, and then when you put the beautiful blues of the sky and whatever, it really contrasts against that, you get that beautiful Outback, red earth, big blue sky country. So that'll be the step now. So just going to use a bit of medium and terps, bit of linseed oil, a little bit of pure gum terps mixed with that so it dries quicker. But I want the oil in so it's got a bit of a binder, because I'm going to be thinning the paint right down to just a thin wash. If I just use the terps, there may not be enough binder, so over the years it may go a bit chalky or powdery. So adding a little bit more medium to it, a little bit of oil, just to make sure you've got enough binder so it really binds and glues. Wash her on, should be good. Just give it a quick dust off to make sure she's all clean enough. Now, I actually use this stuff. I've got Art Spectrum lean medium, so it's already a pre-mixed version. It's got a bit of linseed oil, a little bit of terps to make it dry quicker. This is the type of thing it'll dry fairly quickly, but it's got a binder, so it'll still be good stuff, so I'll use that. Okay, what colours will I use today? I reckon I'll mix, going to use alizarin crimson and a bit of raw sienna. Let's just see what colour the raw sienna comes out. Just going to bung a bit on there for now. Drop a little bit of medium. It's actually quite a nice tone, like in itself, that is a beautiful colour. I could just go with that, or I could also add a little bit of red as well, and that'll just really really give you that earthy quality. Let's just try it. A little bit of alizarin crimson. If I pull that into it, mix whatever portion I want, you can see it's gone more of a orangey earth, more of a red earthy colour rather than just a yellow ochre. Let's just try that one again. Combination of them both. A little bit of the oil in, drop that and that together. That's quite nice. Quite a nice combination. And it's okay to let it vary. Some parts can be a little bit more red, some parts a little more raw sienna. Either way though, it will work out well. It can make quite for an interesting effect putting a warm tone like an undertone like that on your painting, so we'll go with that. Quite a nice effect, yeah, like I was saying. Alright, let's get the lids off these paint so I don't have to keep putting them on. Bung a bit there, bung a bit there. Alrighty then. Spread that around, lovely stuff. Good stuff. Now obviously you can go as thin as you want or as thick as you want, and using more medium it'll be a lighter tone. I want somewhere in the middle, so that's about right what we've got now. Just a nice middle tone. Alright, so those colour combos are working beautifully now, so we'll just keep her on going. Alizarin crimson is a lot stronger pigment than the raw sienna, so proportionately as I'm painting it, I need a lot more of the raw sienna. Just drop that down there. Now I'll do all sorts of strokes at the moment, then what I'll do is, as I'm finishing off, I may shorten some of the strokes and just add a bit of a nice pattern to the surface. So if there's any left exposed at the finish of the painting, and that can be a good thing too, when you're painting the picture, sometimes just leave the underpaint showing through. It can be a good thing to have a nice pattern now, so when you display it later, it comes out looking good. Like these strokes over here are a little bit long. I'd rather sort of shorten and make them more random. But I do like to leave some sort of pattern on the surface itself. We'll just get a bit more of that. Going through tons of this one. Little tiny tube, eating it up. A bit more of that lean medium. Red. It's about right. Thrash that around. A bit more red. Yep. More red. A bit more of the raw sienna. Now I'm going to do the sides as well, I've decided. So it's a nice pattern all around the sides. And like I was saying before, in Australia, a lot of times the clients like to have their paintings just on a stretch canvas like this, not framed. Like the frame is just the painting itself on the stretcher bars. Which works out great for me, the artist. But also, then because of that, you make a conscious effort to make the sides attractive. So if you put these colour on the sides, it can quite often add, if this is an Outback painting for example, having that earthy tone around the sides can just add extra emphasis to that theme. So getting there, I just get a little bit more of the gear. Bit of that one. Very sparing on the red, very little bit. Whoops, too much. Right. Throw that red into it, nice. Why am I using those two combos of colours? I guess just because, depending on the subject, sometimes I like to go more just the raw sienna. Sometimes maybe just a burnt sienna undertone. Sometimes that redness really pops as well. Magenta could be a good colour to use as well, but I really do want the warm fiery reds of the Outback at the moment. So this is very much the colour of the earth of the Outback. So it's probably best suited for this particular painting that I'm going to be doing to go with this colour and tone. Now I'll have enough stuff on the brush and on the top to be able to go around the sides like that. I won't need to add anything extra, I wouldn't imagine. Very little extra work and you get that done. Now I've got my nice even pattern on top. Sides look good. Pretty much how I like it. Alright, I'll just leave it at that, I reckon. Good as gold. And I'll go get another one out and prime that. I'll do a couple of big ones this trip, but I'm also going to plant a lot of little ones. So I've got these big beauties, but also I'm thinking about doing quite a few little ones this trip too. Some nice little ones that I could add to my online store. So you can check them out in the next couple of weeks or so. Alright, there we go. Good stuff. Okay, now I should have done this before I primed it, so I may have to just do a couple of touch-ups. What I'll do is just flip her over for a minute, place it down carefully. Okay, so I'll put some of these slats on the back so we can get an idea how it all works. Pretty simple procedure. You just do a bit of measuring. Do a bit of maths. What do we want here? About, I think it's 7.5. And we'll go 22 today. We'll stick these on. It's as simple as just tack screwing. A little bit of maths. Now I reckon I've got that one there 22, so I'll do the same on the other side. Alright, 22. Now, doesn't take much and they come out very easy later on down the track. It's really quite a simple thing and it really does make it easy for when you're painting, when you're storing the wet painting, the whole works. Got and lost this one a bit, so we'll go back to 22. Okay, so she's that easy. Okay. Just slide her in she goes, no worries. Line up the slats. Alright, well there we go, fully protected and ready for the trip. So it's really that simple and it's a fantastic setup. There's no way there's going to be any damage when you've got, like I was saying, dust, wet paint, rugged country, bounce, the whole lot. She's all just locked away beautiful so you can paint really big major works and you've got no trouble getting them home and having them in one piece. Alright, okay. Alright, well, as well as the big plein air trailer, I'm going to take my little trusty old easel, little fold away easel, so that's great for some of the smaller works if I want to climb the hills and do whatever, so you've got to do that of course. You cannot just rely on wherever you can drive. Of course, some of the best spots are not where you can get with the vehicle. So we've got this one, and I'm just going to take a few simple palette knives. I've got a few in here. I don't use many, as you've probably seen before on my videos, but this is one of my favourite. Now I think the most important thing I would say with a palette knife is, for me, for this style that I paint in, fairly large, like so. It hasn't got a number on it, so I don't know what number, but it's a Liquitex. I also use Art Spectrum. They're a good brand, Art Spectrum. Now it's all about the flex, Okay, so what do I mean by that? Because palette knives have a tendency to be a little bit harsh, you need some way to soften them, and I find if they're stiff all the way to the end, or fairly stiff to the end, that very end part, when you're painting on the canvas, what do we got here? A bit of canvas. Alright. When it pushes on the canvas for the mark, the very end piece, as it hits, if it's too stiff and doesn't bend away from the canvas, it's liable to leave a fairly, you know, substantial mark, and you don't want that. You want the edge to be soft and feathery, so it's best that the knife bends like so on the very end. But in saying that, this part needs to be stiff, so it's like a bit like a bow for a bow and arrow. This starts off stiff and then tapers to fine. That's the perfect way. And a lot of people say this looks like an icing for icing a cake, but I've picked them up, thought they'd probably be a good thing, but they're not. They look like that, obviously, but quite often for icing a cake, it's still quite hard on the end. And that's very hard there, that's good. This one's quite soft on the end, and so you get that flex feather at the end. And that's the most important thing, I would say, the feather at the end for those big broad marks. It just softens the edge off. And also, painting on canvas or painting on board. If you're only using knife, canvas and linen is more forgiving because of the fact it flexes. So you've got the flex of the canvas or the linen combined with the flex of the knife, and then as you're pushing it on, it's quite soft on the edge, like I said. If you're painting on a board, let's have a look, I'll just grab a palette. If you're painting on a board, it doesn't bend, and it quite often, as you're rubbing like that, you can see these harsh marks where you're going whack, 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 whack. There's kind of harsh marks on the end because the canvas, the board's not forgiving, you know, it doesn't bend in. So that'd be the major things I would say when it comes to painting with just a palette knife. Of course, if you're using brushes, brushes are great because what you can do is you can get the brush and you can soften. You can apply hard marks with the palette knife and then just soften off with the brush. But if you're only going to use the knife without a brush, I suggest that you have a stiff knife that very gently tapers to quite a feathery soft end. That's a great knife, that one. This one's the same, incredibly soft on the end but stiff there. So I pretty much only use 3 knives, like I've got this square, well, pretty much only 2 really. Most of the paintings I do on YouTube, I'm using this little one here. There's a lot of flex on the end, beautiful soft flex, but it's firmer back. And that one. And occasionally I'll go to that one, or if I want some super detail, pains me to say it, I have to go to a little one. And that's the same thing, it's got a bit of a feathery end. That's good for little fine marks, but quite often I can get the same fine marks as this one, just putting the knife on the edge. You can get those fine marks anyway, so. Pretty much most of the paintings I would say I would paint with just that and that. Occasionally throw that in. Or if I've only got a small canvas like this, I may do the opposite and just go for only one knife, which is slightly bigger, and that was this one. Just paint the whole lot with one knife. It's quite enjoyable just using one knife. Just trying to get as many different marks as you can with the one knife. You should try it. Instead of going for as many different utensils as possible, quite often just one simple object, try and get as many different shapes and marks. You can obviously get the big flat marks, long, short, whatever. You can get the fine on edge marks. You can roll it to the top and just get the top edge. So there's so much variety you can do. But anyway, so that's basically what I'm going to take out bush this time. Is I might take a few brushes, but I probably won't use them. It's just going to be that knife, you know, those few knives, and that's it. And like I said, this fold away easel for getting up on the hills and painting. And of course the big easel for the big major works. Right, pretty excited, can't wait to get back into the Outback. That clarity of light, going to be fantastic. Okay, so that's pretty much what we need for all that. I'll keep on packing. All right, well, we've seen the back of the trailer. Now this is the back of the truck, the back of the car, or whatever you want to call it. Now, I've just got to keep out of the way here. That's no good. Let's try a different camera. We've got the large box in the back of the trailer. Smaller boxes here. I actually slide my pallet into here, which is made out of 5mm marine ply. And then I've got smaller boards and, smaller canvas stretch linens. And then down the back here, or for one here, we've got the big fridge. That's great for just putting all your produce in. Great stuff. Then down the back, I have one more. If I just move everything out of the way for a minute. One more extra small, hard to see it in there. Let's have a look. Just another small box there that you can put really little paintings in, and that's great too. So once all that's done, everything's secure. The idea is, let's just get all this rope out of the way. I just want to show you how it all goes together. Once we've got that, we've got our little tiny easel. I've arranged it all so she goes in like so, and it's strapped in, so sit in there somewhere. And then you pull the strap up tight. And then so she's all strapped away, so nothing can move. So when you're on the outback roads bouncing, jugga, 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 bouncing away, that pallet's not going to smack against the fridge. The fridge can slide in and out. We've got them slides. You move the fridge in and out. Everything's independent of each other. That clicks in there, that's shut there, everything's locked away. So it's all secure, because that's the thing you got to remember when you're in the outback, like I was saying with the trailer. Everything's juddering around, everything needs to be dust tight and cannot move. So had to think about it, but it's all done now. Good stuff. All right. Okay, well, that is about it. I hope you learned something out of that, and if you have a look at what we've got here up close, you'll really see what's going on. So there you go. Hope you've learned a few tips on how to store these really big paintings that you do on site. Absolutely love working this large on my outdoor studio. Nothing better than that. Well, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that and hit that notification bell. That way you won't miss one of these videos. And if you like the video, give that big thumbs up. Thanks again for watching. Till next time, I'll see you later.